Yeah.
But then when you do it, you got to do it straight because the humor is how serious you are.
Few names in Hollywood carry the same weight as Robert De Niro. With a career spanning over 5 decades, De Niro has built a reputation as one of the greatest actors of all time. He's not just a performer, he's a force of nature, known for immersing himself so deeply into his roles that audiences often forget they're watching an actor at all. From the simmering menace of Taxi Driver to the raw power of Raging Bull and the quiet gravitas of The Godfather Part 2, De Niro's work has become the gold standard for what it means to truly inhabit a character. But that level of intensity doesn't come without a cost. De Niro is a devoted practitioner of method acting, a craft that demands living, breathing, and sometimes suffering as the character. That kind of uncompromising approach has made him a legend, but it has also sparked clashes with co-stars, directors, and even comedians who weren't quite ready for the level of commitment he brought to the set. While he's not known for personal feuds in the tabloids, many colleagues have recalled moments when De Niro's pursuit of authenticity pushed them, sometimes uncomfortably, to their limits. This countdown isn't about grudges or lasting hatred. Instead, it's about those intense moments on set when De Niro's dedication to his craft collided with the instincts, boundaries, or expectations of the people around him. These stories reveal both the brilliance and the complications of working with someone who refuses to settle for anything less than truth on screen. Sometimes the tension led to unforgettable performances. Other times, it left bruises, physical, emotional, or reputational, that lasted long after the cameras stopped rolling. Over the course of this video, we'll count down 6 moments where De Niro's collaborators found themselves in conflict with his methods. From startling improvisations that caught co-stars off guard, to volatile exchanges that spilled into public feuds, each story paints a vivid picture of how far De Niro is willing to go in the name of his art. And while some may have left his colleagues shaken, there's no denying that these moments helped create some of the most iconic scenes in modern cinema. So let's dive in. Here are 6 times Robert De Niro's relentless pursuit of authenticity left his fellow actors, and sometimes himself, rattled, challenged, or downright furious. Number 6. Juliette Lewis, Cape Fear, 1991.
Hey, free as a bird, apparently. You go everywhere you want with whomever.
When Robert De Niro signed on to play Max Cady in Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear, he approached the role with his trademark intensity. Max wasn't just a villain, he was a nightmare come to life. A man who used manipulation, intimidation, and psychological terror to destroy those around him. To capture that kind of menace, De Niro relied heavily on improvisation. And one of his most infamous choices came in a scene opposite a very young Juliette Lewis, who was just 18 years old at the time. The moment in question takes place in a school auditorium. Juliette's character, Danielle, is the vulnerable teenage daughter of the family Cady is stalking. De Niro, as Cady, strikes up a chilling conversation with her, pretending to be charming while radiating quiet menace. What Juliette didn't know, however, was that De Niro was about to cross into territory no one warned her about. Without prior rehearsal, De Niro stuck his thumb into Lewis's mouth, gently caressing her teeth and lips before leaning in to kiss her. According to Mental Floss, Lewis had only been vaguely warned that De Niro was going to do something during the scene, but no one told her what. The shock you see in her eyes on screen, that wasn't acting. It was a raw, unfiltered reaction from a young actress who suddenly found herself in a deeply unsettling moment. Director Martin Scorsese kept the take, recognizing that the discomfort translated perfectly to the screen. For Juliette Lewis, it was a trial by fire. She later admitted that while the moment was startling, she trusted Scorsese and De Niro, and in hindsight, she appreciated the rawness it gave her performance. But for viewers, and for many critics, the scene highlighted just how far De Niro was willing to go to pull a reaction out of his co-stars.
14 years ago, I was forced to make a commitment to an 8x9 cell, and now you're going to be forced to make a commitment.
His improvisation blurred the line between performance and reality in a way that left everyone shaken, especially Lewis. De Niro himself has rarely commented on the specifics, but his choice fits with a career-long philosophy. Surprise is one of the most powerful tools an actor can use. By keeping his co-star in the dark, he ensured her reaction would be genuine. And in a film as psychologically twisted as Cape Fear, that authenticity is what made the scene unforgettable. For Juliette Lewis, it was both a shocking and defining moment in her early career. She held her own against one of the most intense actors alive, and the scene remains one of the most disturbing in Scorsese's filmography. For De Niro, it was another example of how his relentless pursuit of truth on screen sometimes pushed his collaborators into uncomfortable, but unforgettable, territory. Number 5, Jerry Lewis, the King of Comedy, 1982.
Where is the password?
How do I know you have that password?
Oh, have the password.
When Martin Scorsese cast Jerry Lewis in The King of Comedy, it was a stroke of genius. The veteran comedian, known for his zany slapstick routines and larger-than-life persona, was asked to play a thinly veiled version of himself, a late-night talk show host named Jerry Langford. On the surface, Langford had Jerry's fame and charisma, but the role also required a darker, more cynical edge. To pull off that realism, Robert De Niro, who played aspiring comedian and stalker Rupert Pupkin, decided to use some of his most controversial acting methods. One of the film's most uncomfortable moments came when De Niro hurled profanities at Lewis, including insults Jerry later described as anti-Semitic. The goal wasn't malice, it was shock. De Niro wanted Lewis's reaction to be authentic, to capture the humiliation and disbelief Langford would feel when faced with Pupkin's escalating desperation. According to Jerry Lewis himself, he was blindsided. The insults came out of nowhere, leaving him rattled both as a man and as an actor. De Niro later admitted to Playboy magazine that he didn't remember exactly what he said, but he owned up to the tactic. I might have said something to really bust his balls. That simple phrase reveals just how far De Niro was willing to go in service of the scene. For him, the insults were a tool, a way to provoke something real. For Lewis, the impact was lasting. The tension worked. On screen, Jerry Lewis's responses to De Niro's Pupkin are uncomfortably real. Cold, cutting, and tinged with genuine irritation. Scorsese himself praised Lewis's performance, calling it one of the most underrated of his career. Critics, too, took notice, pointing out that Lewis seemed to be playing not a character, but a raw extension of himself. Yet off-screen, the experience wasn't easy. Lewis later described working with De Niro as both challenging and unsettling.
Hey, I can do it myself. Oh, this is wonderful.
He respected De Niro's talent, but admitted that their methods were worlds apart. Lewis came from an era of rehearsed gags and calculated timing. De Niro thrived on unpredictability, throwing curveballs to keep his co-stars off balance. The clash of styles, however, created cinematic magic. The King of Comedy was not a box office hit in 1982, but in the decades since, it has been hailed as a masterpiece, eerily predicting the rise of celebrity obsession and media madness. Jerry Lewis's performance is central to that legacy, and De Niro's harsh provocations, though painful, helped etch one of the most haunting portrayals of fame ever put on screen. For Jerry Lewis, it was a test of his composure. For Robert De Niro, it was another example of using discomfort as a weapon to create truth. Together, they made movie history, but not without leaving scars. Number 4, Mickey Rourke, The Long-Running Feud.
Hey, what about the chicken foot and the John, huh?
Means I got a big mouth.
Few Hollywood rivalries have been as bitter, or as public, as the one between Robert De Niro and Mickey Rourke. Their tension traces back to the 1987 supernatural thriller Angel Heart, where both men delivered intense performances. Behind the scenes, though, things quickly soured. According to Rourke, De Niro dismissed him early on and even refused to speak directly to him during filming, instead communicating through director Alan Parker. For a young actor trying to carve out his place, that silence felt like rejection. The rift didn't fade with time. Decades later, the feud exploded again when Martin Scorsese's The Irishman was announced in 2019. Rourke publicly claimed that De Niro had blocked him from joining the project. His fury boiled over into a string of interviews where he unleashed raw anger. In one, he famously called De Niro a big, beating crybaby and swore, "I don't look up to him no more, I look through him. When I see you, I swear to God, I'm gonna embarrass you." Those words weren't just tabloid fodder. They reflected decades of resentment that Rourke had carried, convinced that De Niro had sabotaged opportunities for him in Hollywood. Whether or not De Niro actually intervened to keep Rourke out of The Irishman remains unclear, but Rourke's outbursts ensured the feud stayed alive in the public eye. De Niro, true to his famously private nature, never fired back. He gave no interviews addressing Rourke's claims and offered no counter-narrative. His silence only added fuel to the speculation. Was it dignity, refusing to dignify Rourke's accusations with a response? Or was there truth buried in the conflict that De Niro preferred to keep off the record? Fans and journalists debated, but De Niro remained impenetrable. What makes this feud so fascinating is the contrast between their careers. In the 1980s, Rourke was touted as the next De Niro, hailed for his intensity in films like Diner and The Pope of Greenwich Village. Yet where De Niro's discipline led to a long string of classics, Rourke's path was far rockier, marked by boxing, personal troubles, and a Hollywood exile. Some critics argue that Rourke's bitterness toward De Niro stems as much from envy as from real grievances. Still, the feud adds a layer of drama to both men's legacies. De Niro, the towering icon of American cinema, and Rourke, the rebel who burned bridges along the way, are forever linked not just by their craft, but by their conflict. It's a reminder that in Hollywood, rivalries can last a lifetime, and some grudges never fade. Number 3, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker, 2019 rehearsal standoff.
Hey, Art! We need to talk! Hey! Stop! Under!
When Robert De Niro joined Joker in 2019, fans were thrilled to see him step into a story that paid homage to the gritty crime dramas of his own past. But before cameras even rolled, there was already tension brewing. Not on screen, but between De Niro and his co-star, Joaquin Phoenix. Director Todd Phillips later revealed the heart of the clash. De Niro, old school and meticulous, wanted a traditional table read of the script. Phoenix, who works through instinct and improvisation, wanted no part of it. He felt rehearsals stripped away the spontaneity and rawness he needed for his performance as Arthur Fleck. Phillips recalled De Niro telling him bluntly, "Tell him he's an actor and he's gotta be there. I like to hear the whole movie." Phoenix reluctantly agreed, but the atmosphere at that rehearsal was icy. He sat through it, clearly uncomfortable, and afterwards retreated back into his process. On set, the divide was obvious. Phoenix avoided De Niro outside of their scenes. Later, Phoenix admitted, "I didn't like to talk to him on set." De Niro, however, brushed off the tension. His response was pure De Niro, professional, direct, and confident. He told Phillips and others, "Do the work. Relate as the characters to each other." To him, the relationship didn't need to be warm off screen. The electricity between them belonged in front of the camera. And it worked. Their pivotal scene together, where Phoenix's Arthur confronts De Niro's talk show host Murray Franklin, is one of the most chilling, unforgettable moments in modern cinema. The clash in rehearsal may have been uncomfortable, but it sharpened the edges of their performances. Phoenix carried his sense of alienation into Arthur, while De Niro's commanding presence mirrored Murray's dismissive arrogance. In the end, both actors walked away with their reputations intact. Phoenix won the Oscar for Best Actor, and De Niro's supporting turn was widely praised. But the story of their standoff has become a fascinating glimpse into the tension between two very different acting philosophies. De Niro's demand for structure versus Phoenix's need for chaos. It's a reminder that when giants collide, the friction often lights the fire of great art. Number 2, Cathy Moriarty, Raging Bull, 1980.
Vicky! Vicky!
Few films have pushed the boundaries of realism like Raging Bull. Robert De Niro famously gained 60 pounds to play Jake LaMotta in his later years, trained with real boxers until he could almost pass for a professional, and demanded the same level of intensity from those around him. One of the people who felt that weight most directly was his co-star Cathy Moriarty, who played LaMotta's wife Vicky. Moriarty was only 19 when she landed the role, and Raging Bull was her first film. To her, De Niro was already a towering figure in cinema, and he never broke character. That commitment meant that even in rehearsal, Moriarty often found herself on edge, unsure of what he would do in the heat of a scene. Years later, she admitted that working with De Niro could be terrifying. She recalled one moment in particular, during a scene where LaMotta lashes out violently. De Niro's character shoved her with such force that she hit the wall and heard her head crack against it. Moriarty later said, "He hit me so hard I heard my head crack against the wall. I wasn't expecting it." She described how, after moments like that, De Niro wouldn't apologize directly but would check in the following day in his own quiet way, saying things like, "You can take it." This wasn't cruelty for cruelty's sake. It was part of De Niro's philosophy of staying locked inside the character.
I think it's great, He picked the right time to stop fighting. He's home with us all the time now.
Moriarty explained that she was constantly bracing herself during filming, unsure if she'd be slapped, kicked, or pushed in the next take. That tension, though difficult to endure, gave her performance a raw authenticity. Audiences could feel her fear and her exhaustion because she was living it on set. What's remarkable is that Moriarty held her own. Despite being a newcomer opposite one of the greatest actors alive, she matched De Niro's ferocity with quiet resilience. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress, an extraordinary achievement for her debut. The experience left scars, but also pride. Moriarty has said that she'll never forget how demanding it was, but also that it shaped her as an actress. De Niro's methods were punishing, but they pushed her into a level of realism she may not have reached otherwise. For audiences, the result was one of the most intense portrayals of a marriage in cinema history. A tragic, bruising partnership that felt as real as any documentary. And for Moriarty, surviving that trial by fire meant that no other role would ever intimidate her the same way again. Number 1. Sharon Stone, Casino, 1995.
Sam, I've been independent my whole life. I never had to ask anybody for anything. Now you're making me beg you for this.
When Robert De Niro teamed up with Martin Scorsese for Casino, the result was another gritty, larger-than-life portrait of greed, power, and betrayal. But what often gets overlooked is just how much emotional fire went into capturing those performances, especially between De Niro and Sharon Stone. Stone played Ginger, the fiery hustler who becomes entangled with De Niro's character, Ace Rothstein. Their relationship is volatile, swinging from passion to fury in a heartbeat. To make that volatility authentic, De Niro once again leaned on his signature approach: unpredictability. In one particularly heated scene, Ace tries to calm Ginger down. Instead of sticking to the scripted lines, De Niro improvised. He looked at Stone in character and told her, "You're a good actress, you know that?" Stone later revealed that this moment infuriated her. To her, it felt like a line that blurred the boundary between fiction and reality. De Niro wasn't just speaking as Rothstein, he was pushing her buttons as Sharon Stone. Her immediate thought? "Oh, buddy, not today, pal." That raw anger fueled her performance, and it's visible in the final cut. The venom in her eyes, the tension in her voice. Stone has said that De Niro is the greatest observational actor she's ever worked with. He has an uncanny ability to watch his co-stars, sense what will provoke a real reaction, and then go for it without warning. This technique was risky. Some actors might have shut down or grown resentful, but Stone thrived on it. The intensity of their clashes gave her performance a depth and realism that critics and audiences couldn't ignore. She earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, cementing Ginger as one of the most unforgettable characters of the 1990s.
There's a couple stuck in there. I know there's more. Come on, Jen. Don't get so defensive. It could be stuck in your hair, you know.
Looking back, Stone has described De Niro as both maddening and masterful. He could frustrate her in the moment, but she also recognized that those provocations were part of what made the work so powerful. Their creative tension didn't create lasting animosity. Instead, it produced one of the most gripping performances of Stone's career. In the end, De Niro's methods once again proved that his brand of intensity can turn conflict into art. What might feel like chaos on set becomes gold on screen. And Sharon Stone's Oscar-nominated turn in Casino is the ultimate testament to that. Robert De Niro's career is defined not just by his performances, but by the fire that fuels them. This countdown hasn't really been about hate in the simple sense. It's been about the sparks that ignite when uncompromising artistry collides with equally strong personalities. From Juliette Lewis's genuine shock in Cape Fear to Sharon Stone's searing fury in Casino, De Niro has always sought out the most authentic reactions possible, even if it meant crossing lines or stirring tension. His clashes with Jerry Lewis, Mickey Rourke, and even Joaquin Phoenix show that for De Niro, the work comes first. Sometimes that means bruised egos, sometimes legendary arguments, but always unforgettable results. What's remarkable is how often these moments produced landmark performances. Oscar wins, nominations, and scenes that movie fans still quote today. Whether you see his methods as extreme or genius, there's no denying that De Niro's pursuit of truth in performance has shaped modern acting itself. So when we talk about the actors Robert De Niro hated, what we're really talking about is his relentless drive for authenticity. That drive may have ruffled feathers, but it also gave us some of the greatest scenes in film history.